Why do we blame other people for the bad things that happen in our life? Find out here today on Jimmy Rants. Click on that little box down there in the corner. It'll take you straight to IGTV for today's episode. JimmyRants.com is the website, and as always, you can engage live in the content. You gotta go follow me. I'm over on Instagram. I'm at Living Low Carb Man, LIVINLOWCARBMAN. Once you're there, engage live. We are here Monday through Friday, 11 a.m. Eastern Time. So thank you so much for joining us here today on Jimmy Rants. We also simulcast over here on my Facebook page, where I see Libby came in and Kathy. Thank you guys for being here today. We also simulcast over on my YouTube channel. Thank you all for being here today on Jimmy Rants. If you miss a live, you can watch it on replay here on IGTV. If you're watching this on the replay, hi. I see you guys every day coming in the hundreds upon hundreds of people looking at this video. So thank you for watching Jimmy Rants on IGTV. We also put the past episodes up over on YouTube, which again, this is the feed that goes up on YouTube. So if you're watching this on YouTube, yes, I see all the comments that you leave. Thank you so much for being out there, you guys. On YouTube, by the way, today we have a special Jimmy Rants bonus episode. So on Thursdays, I have a show called Real Talk. And so today's guest, I actually have a fun guest. It's my last podcast of the year. I have no more podcast scheduled because I'm going away after this week. So today is my very last podcast of the year, and it's Dave Martin is his name. He is a stand-up comedian. So he is funny in every sense of the word. Go watch that video. It's a Jimmy Rants bonus episode over on YouTube. Watch it. We went about 75 minutes, and at times it was serious. At times it was really funny. He got me to try some humor, so we'll see how that went. And yeah, we went deep on a lot of different topics about all the stuff happening in the world right now. So go watch that again, Jimmy Rants bonus episode with stand-up comedian Dave Martin. Or you can listen to it on the Real Talk podcast when it airs. Usually by the end of Jimmy Rants, it's already up. LLVLC.com or wherever you listen to podcasts. And then finally, pop on over to the official website for this show. It is JimmyRants.com. While you're there, engage in the content. You can see all the past videos there. And it's also where you can support my work either with PayPal or Patreon. And a donation of any amount would be greatly appreciated. Okay, you guys, 2 more episodes of Jimmy Rants are left, and then I'm out of here for 2020. So because this is my final week of the year, I've been doing a contest this week called Farewell Freebies Contest. And so the freebies are all of my best-selling books. And so Cholesterol Clarity, Keto Clarity, the Ketogenic Cookbook, the Complete Guide to Fasting, the Keto Cure, Real Food Keto, and Keto Clarity Cookbook. So these are all the books that I've written with a major publisher, Victory Belt Publishing, and so I wanted to give you guys a chance to win. I gave away a crap load of books yesterday. I think about 18 different people won books yesterday. So I'm going to give all 3 platforms today, 1 each on every single platform. 1 of you on every one is going to win one of those books here live today. So congratulations, somebody's going to win. But the way you enter is you've got to leave a comment. So leave a comment as I'm going through the Jimmy Rants here today, and you can leave a comment. And if you make a comment, then 1 person on each platform is going to win a book, okay? Or you can go on my social media platforms and you can basically engage in a comment there. If you're watching this on the replay, I'm also looking at the people watching replay. And if you comment on the post, you're also eligible. So I'm in a very giving mood this week and giving away all these books. And it's my way of giving back to you guys to say thank you for all of your support of me and my work when I returned from my 6-month sabbatical last year. And so on my way out the door this year for a couple months off, I wanted to give you guys a chance to win. So comment, comment, comment. And like I said, I'm going to give away 3 books live on the air here today on Jimmy Rants. And if you don't win today, don't worry. You will not want to miss tomorrow. Tomorrow is my last episode of the year. and it's the Ask Me Anything. And on that episode, guys, you won't want to miss is all I got to say. Come back tomorrow for sure at 11 a.m. Eastern Time. But today, I have a very interesting topic. And I wrote a post about it today on social media, but I thought, no. The post, I was able to put some things into that post that I wanted to have said, but I didn't near go to the expansiveness of what I want to say about this subject. Do you know people in your life who feel like their life is crap? Do you? I think we all do. Maybe, I'm gonna step on some toes now, maybe you're one of those people who thinks your life is a miserable mess. Is that you? And there's no shame. If that's you, go for it. That's how you believe, that's how you feel. Hopefully by the end of this Jimmy Rants today, you don't feel that way anymore. But we know those people that play the blame game. Nothing in their life happened because anything they did. It's all because of things that other people did. And so I want to read from a couple of articles that I have here today about why we put the blame on other people for the things that are going on in our life, and then what's the real cost we pay. And I'm gonna start this by a little bit of controversy, because all year long we have been told that because of this thing called systemic racism, that a black person is not able to achieve anything in society. That's what we've been told. And I will obviously admit there has been incredible racism in the past, and there has been horrible atrocities done, that's for sure, through slavery and some of the Jim Crow laws and some of the other things that happened there in segregation. But let's not fool ourselves. If you make your identity blaming what has happened in the past on why your present is bad, that's your fault. You really need to grab reins of your life. And I'm not just talking about black people, I'm talking about all people. If there's something going on in your life that you're blaming your past or blaming some person on, it's time to let that go and start living your life. And I told you guys many times on Jimmy Rants this year, when I got back, I started talking about the childhood trauma that I went through. I was physically and emotionally beaten and psychologically abused pretty much on a daily basis from the age of 14 until I was 17 and a half, and by my dad. And a lot of people could wallow in pity over those kinds of things. Well, that happened to me, and so therefore anything bad in my life, it has to be because of my dad. And and for a while I think it's okay to have those feelings, but what do you do from there? And so for me, it was recognizing what happened, realizing I can't change what happened. I had nothing to do with what happened, but I do have full control of putting the onus on myself of what happens in my life is because of me, not because of what someone has done or said to me or some circumstance in my life. Taking back personal responsibility is the first step in moving forward in your life if you feel like you're stuck in a rut. Now, a lot of people's pride won't let them do that. They want to stay the victim for their whole lives. They get their identity. I'm stepping on more toes. You get your identity in victimhood. Trust me, we've all done it. We've all been there. But I can tell you, you can break free from that. And when you break free from that, you actually find greater potential for who you are as a person. I have thrived so much when I stopped blaming circumstances and people in my life for the way my life is now. And I said, okay, I'm pointing at you, but how many fingers are back at me? There's triple the number of fingers pointing back at me. So maybe it's triple my fault that I need to grab back the reins of that. And so that's what we're going to talk about here today. Let's stop with the blame game of accusing other people for all the bad things that happen in our life. And why do we do that? So let's take a look at some articles. This first one is from a website called harleytherapy.co.uk. And the second one is from Psychology Today. But let's get to the first article. Blaming. The fine art of making other people responsible for all the difficult things that happen in your life. It's something our modern society seems to support as perfectly acceptable. Reality TV shows force feed us scenes of one character blaming someone else. And newspapers are awash with stories about how all of society's problems are to be blamed on a specific politician or terrorist, and there's nothing we can do about it. You guys get that sense? And why? Why has it become societally accepted? Why is it the norm that it's everybody else's fault? What happened to the good old ideal of taking the personal responsibility for your own actions, your own consequences? I'm going to get controversial again. I don't care. I'm going away for 2 months. All of these people that have been shot this year by a white cop shooting a black person, all of them made the choice. They should have taken on the responsibility, and they did. They made their action, and they suffered the consequences of those actions. This one that happened in Pittsburgh the other day. The guy had a knife in his hand, and they said, please drop the knife. No, he wouldn't do it. Please drop the knife. No, wouldn't do it. And then he lunged at one of the cops, and they shot him. Oh my God, an unarmed black guy gets shot by a racist white cop. No, that's not what happened. What happened was he made a choice. He was blaming the systemic racism and didn't trust the cops enough to drop his knife. Now, we all know how that would have ended had he simply dropped the knife and put his hands up and surrendered. He would still be alive today. You can't say that out loud, apparently, in this culture. I don't care. I do, because he should have taken more responsibility. And when you don't take responsibility and you blame other people, you've got consequences that are going to come right back to you. Right back to you. But is our culture blame helpful? So let's take a look at that. Psychology talks about the self-serving bias, with researchers discovering that many of us will take credit whenever things go good in life. Isn't that funny? When things are good, oh, that was all me. Oh, it's all me when it's good stuff. But as soon as things go bad, oh, no, that can't possibly be me. That has to be point to a person or a circumstance. So imagine taking a driver's test. If you pass, then you will likely make it an internal reason because you studied hard or you're a good driver naturally. But what if you failed? What happens then? Suddenly, there's an external reason. Well, the weather was really bad that day. That wasn't the car I usually drive, so I wasn't really sure about it. I didn't really get enough sleep, so that explains it. So we like to come up with excuses, rationalizations for why bad things happen. Then it has no bearing on who we are. It has everything to do with circumstances and with other people. Is this resonating? Are you seeing yourself in this? Or do you know people in your life? I know a bunch of people in my life where they've literally done no wrong, and literally everything bad in their life they blame on other people. But blaming circumstances is one thing. It's when you start blaming people, especially loved ones in your life, when things just don't go well. And it can have a very damaging effect on all your relationships, family, and career. So why do we do this? Why do we blame other people for the bad things that happen in our life? Why do we do it? Number one, it's easy. How easy is it to just deflect attention off yourself? It can't possibly be my fault. So it's less work. When you blame someone, you don't have to do internal work and really kind of, how did I mess up there? It was, I obviously didn't mess up, so therefore, let's see who did. We don't have to be held accountable. It's really the opposite of taking responsibility and all the work that comes with taking responsibility. Number two, blame means you don't have to be vulnerable. Ooh. You know how few people in life ever put themselves in a position of vulnerability? And do you know how powerful this world would be in our interactions with one another as human beings if we all made ourselves more vulnerable with one another? Because if you get to the heart of people, you can't have hate in your heart. You can't have anything but love and compassion for other people, because you realize when you become vulnerable that we all have hurts. We all make mistakes. We all have those things in our lives that make us more in common than divide us. And so you don't have to be vulnerable, and if you don't have to be accountable for your actions, you don't really have to put yourself in that position. Brene Brown says this about blame: accountability by definition is vulnerability. It means me calling you and telling you my feelings were hurt and talking it out. People who blame a lot seldom have any tenacity and grit to hold people accountable. And it's one of the reasons we miss the opportunity for empathy. You can't empathize if you haven't been in that position. And if you're never wrong and you always blame other people for the bad things in your life happening, how, pray tell, do you relate to someone when they try to be vulnerable with you and you don't understand because you've never done that? That makes sense? And I get it. Being vulnerable is hard. Guys, I'm vulnerable all the time on Jimmy Rants. I will show emotion, and I will try to connect in that way. And I can tell you I'm more deliberate in 2020 about creating vulnerable relationships where I talk to people on a more real level. In fact, just this morning, I was talking with someone and we had a nice hour and 15-minute conversation. And this person was very vulnerable with me, and I was vulnerable back to her. And that's the way it should work. We don't need to be blaming other people for the things in our life. We can come up with, okay, I take ownership in my role in this, and let me express it, and let me get things out, and let me share some of the ugly parts, because it's in those parts where we connect as human beings. And ultimately, that's what we're seeking in life, right? Is to connect with other human beings. Number 3, blaming others feeds that need for you to be in control. Ooh. This is why one of the top tactics of a narcissist is never taking the blame for anything, because they have to be in control. If a narcissist is not in control, they go berserko. And so blaming others feeds your need for control. Not blaming someone means you have to accept that there was a situation where perhaps you didn't act in ways you're proud of. And again, it takes a lot of humility in order to do that. In other words, you were out of control and you needed to just own up to it. Not blaming someone also means that you have to then listen to their side of the story. Another thing, you can't control what that other person says. But if you blame someone else, then guess what? You control the narrative, both the past and the future. They are inherently bad, hence, things happen the way that they did, and it's all their fault. Thus, you never have to deal with it any further. You washed your hands clean of it, bada bing, bada boom. Even though you're totally guilty, you have now transferred that guilt onto someone else who does not deserve it. Are you seeing how the blame game ain't so good? Because it leaves a wake of damage that I don't think you can clean up very easily. Number 4, reason why we blame. Blame unloads backed up feelings. Do you tend to rarely show any emotion, or believe you never get upset? I know these people, I never get upset. I'm like, are you human? If you're human, you're going to get upset from time to time. Now, maybe you don't always manifest it outwardly in front of people, but I hope you cry. I hope you have feelings. I hope you have emotions that come to the surface. Nothing wrong with that. You better be getting upset. If you never get upset, I'm going to worry about what's building up inside of you. Or you tend to be laid back and chill literally all the time. At the same time, do you tend to lay blame on other people when push comes to shove? Look at those people in your life who say they never get angry, who say that they're pretty chill in their attitude. Do they ever take responsibility for their own actions? Pay attention to that. You might be surprised what you learn. It's likely that you're using blame as a means of unloading your emotional pain, which you do feel, but are now repressing that pain. And it can feel a great relief to unload it. So you might be blaming a lot for this very reason. Those are the same people that start having health issues. Think about that. When you hold in things, it's almost impossible for you to hold it in without your physical body manifesting it outwardly. And your mental health and your physical health and every part of your health has to be impacted because of that. And then the last one, the reasons why we blame other people for the bad things in our life. Blame will protect your ego. In a way, blaming is a form of social comparison. It's a status symbol. Think about it that way. If you blame someone else, guess what? You are now in the position of superiority, making you feel a lot more important and the good person as opposed to being the bad person. Ooh, I know a lot of people like that. And the people that never, quote, do any wrong, they're the ones that do the most wrong. And the sad part is everybody around them knows they are the ones that have done wrong. And even though they're pointing the finger at you, you know in your heart of hearts, they're the ones that have the issue. It leaves a wake of really bad things. So whether you are to blame, or using blame to be superior, or if you're trying to play the victim, both of these come from a lack of self-esteem. The question to ask might even be not so much, why am I blaming, as much as it is, why do I feel so bad about myself that I have to blame others in order to feel better? If you have to drag people down to lift yourself up, you got to figure out another way. Because the way up is not in stepping on the heads of other people. And can I tell you, over my life, I've had a lot of people step on my head just to make themselves feel better. We've all experienced that. We've all gone through that. We've all been blamed for things. And again, if you're in a narcissistic relationship, either your parents were a narcissist, or you're in a spousal relationship, or some kind of maybe a boss, you know people in your life that literally they've never done anything wrong. You always do stuff wrong. All the things that are wrong in that person's life has everything to do with you and others. We know those people. They're out there. And they come out in droves. So what happens when you blame other people? What are you losing out on? I want you to pay attention to this, because this is getting to the humanity of all of this, because this does not come without consequences. If you want to think that blaming is not something you need to worry about, think again. Blaming other people can have long-term consequences on your life and on your personality. So here's what you stand to lose. Get this, guys, because you may be able to help somebody with their own issue of blaming other people for all their problems. Number one, what you're losing out on, your personal growth. Because look at it this way, blame is a defensive mechanism. And spending time constantly defending ourselves is a part-time job that also leaves us shut down to what others have to offer us in terms of lessons and growth. If you're constantly having to play defense against your own ego and against your self-esteem and how bad you feel about yourself by blaming other people, that takes a lot out of you. And when you're blaming other people, you are closing down communication that could be coming back to you to help you grow. And when you own up, see, here's another thing. In our society, we like a comeback story, don't we? We like those feel-good stories. And sometimes when someone, and think about like famous people who fall from grace and then they rise again. It's a bad example, but it's the first one that pops in my head. So Tiger Woods. Tiger Woods had a great fall. We all know the story. I'm not going to go over the story. Go look it up if you don't know what I'm talking about. But then last year he won the Masters, and he was heralded again. And so we want to see people come back from that vulnerability and the fall. We want to see them come back. We like that kind of feel-good story in life. And so when you make yourself vulnerable and you stop using blame as a defense, you open yourself up, people are going to feed into you because they see you maturing. They see you growing. And that's really what we're trying to do here. You also lose your power by making everything everyone else's fault. You actually are powerless at the end of the day. In the moment, you feel powerful because you're in control, but because you're in control and nobody else respects you, ultimately you've become completely powerless. Think about it. If everything is somebody else's fault, first of all, who would want to be around you? If you're someone who then blames them for everything wrong in their life, who wants to be around those people? I don't know about you. I want to be around people in my life who feed into me, who want my opinion about things and wants interaction, who feeds me. I can feed them and we have that interaction. You don't want someone who's always blaming you. You need to imagine that relationship as literally sucking some life out of you. When they blame you for something that they themselves did, they're sucking life literally out of your body. And you need to think of it in that way. It means that you don't have the power to change anything because they have the reins in your life. Now, I don't know about you. I don't want anybody to have the reins in Jimmy Moore's life, but Jimmy Moore. I'm the boss in that life. And if I need to humble myself and admit when I've done wrong and put the blame on myself and grow from that, then that's what you need to do. You also lose your empathy. We talked about this briefly earlier. If you use blame to avoid any accountability, you're also avoiding speaking truthfully about how you feel and accepting and listening to others and how they feel. Do you have people you bounce things off of? I do. I got all kind of people. And I tell them, don't hold back. You know, I hurt my feelings. If you say something that I don't want to hear, but I need to hear, I want to hear it. And that bluntness comes in handy because I'm like, oh crap, like I couldn't even see it myself. But then when a friend that I trust and love tells me in confidence, hey dude, yeah, you messed up there. Okay, I need to hear that. And vice versa. I do the same thing for those same friends. Constantly sidestepping this powerful, vulnerable process of negotiating and communicating means you're not likely to develop any empathy for others. And again, I ask, if you've never been wrong in your life and all the woes of your life are because of things other people and circumstances have done to you, how do you relate to anyone who comes to you and says, oh my gosh, like I messed up and da-da-da? They won't, that kind of person can't relate to you because they don't have the empathy. It also sacrifices healthy relationships in your life. Given that blame sidesteps any kind of communication, which is healthy and essential in a relationship, you need those things to thrive in a relationship. It's not surprising that if you're a blamer, it's likely you don't have strong relationships. And that's the crying shame. And I've been talking a lot lately in my posts on social media of stop having superficial relationships in your life. If you're going to have somebody in your life, make it the real deal. We have too much fluff, and it's time to let go of the fluff, embrace people who will challenge you and make you a better human being and feed into you. And I'll repeat the line again. If someone in your life is not feeding into you, then they are sucking out of you. You want suckers or feeders? I don't know about you, but I want a lot of feeders. And I want to be a feeder. And I try to be that for the friends in my life. Blaming others is a way of putting people down so naturally. It's also a great way to instead push people away. Whether you realize it or not, do you lose friends often? Or do you not really have friends that want to hang? That could be a clue. You also could create a dangerous environment where there's no trust and the other person simply can't relax because they're always feeling judged and devalued. Again, if someone is always blaming you for the woes in their life, who would stick around? That's literally mental abuse. If someone is always pointing the finger at you as all the reasons why bad things happen in their life. Narcissists are that way. Gaslighters, which I did a whole Jimmy Rants on recently, they do this in spades. And then the last one, your positive influence on others and yourself. Blame has been found by a recent study to be very contagious. Ooh, did you catch that? You can catch it like you can the corona. If someone blames others, then those others around them observe this and go, oh wow, all I have to do is blame other people and I absolve myself of all personal responsibility. I can do that. It's literally contagious. If you blame, those around you are more likely to then turn around and blame others for the bad things in their life. So why don't we set an example of not being a blamer, but instead being vulnerable? It's why I like getting on here with you guys and being vulnerable. It's why when I get on with conversations with people, I try to make myself vulnerable, because then you demonstrate it to other people. And guess what? That can be contagious as well. In other words, you're spreading that tendency to avoid responsibility to everyone around you, both at work and at home. Think about all the implications that brings, especially if you have young children in life, or you're in a position of leadership where other people have to look up to you. And you're having a negative influence on yourself as well. Blamers were found to be more ego defensive and chronically insecure. And again, I'm going to tie it to what I talk about normally. When you have that insecurity, when you have that ego and you hold things in and you never own up to the things you've done, that manifests physically in your life. It could develop an autoimmune condition. It could be chronic stress that then makes you obese. It could be all kinds of things manifesting, and that doesn't even talk about the mental health effects as well. So the more you blame other people, the less you have any sense of self-worth. Isn't that interesting? People blame others to boost their own self-worth, they think, and in the process of blaming others, you actually reduce your self-worth. So, what do you do if you find yourself caught in this blame game? Start working on your own self-esteem. The more self-worth you have, the more you'll be able to manage being responsible for yourself, and the more you can accept your own humanness and capacity for error, the more you are likely to accept and understand it in others. Guys, that is a lot of work to be putting into yourself and taking responsibility when you've always blamed others, and now you're suddenly going to be taking responsibility for your own actions and your humanness and your capacity to have errors in your life. It's hard, but it's worth it, because there's this H word called humility. When you humble yourself, it shows, it stands out. There are so many people who are in it for number one, and they're the ones that blame everybody for everything bad in their life. But when you go, you know what? Yeah, number one messed up, and messed up bad. And I'm sorry, and showing that true sincereness in asking for forgiveness of the people you impacted. Man, your respect level will go so high with other people when you do that kind of thing. It's so dangerous when you refuse to bring in the humility aspect, but you got to do it. It can also help to stop telling a story. We all need to get things off our chest with friends that we trust now and then, but blame recounted too much tends to grow like a snowball. Oh, anybody got people in their lives that they tell them the same story over and over and over, and every time that person gets worked up about it, and the central crux of that person sharing their story is, look at what all those other people have done. Oh my gosh, all those other people are horrible. Oh, the other people, if I could just get rid of the other people and stop them doing it, then my life would be better. And I'm thinking, okay, what's your role in this situation? Are you completely blameless? Not likely. Maybe they are having a causal factor in some things in your life. but what are you doing to contribute to that? And that's something to think about as well. Every time we tell the story about how another person is the reason something went wrong with us, we actually add a little bit more to it, making them more and more responsible and us less and less. Have you caught yourself doing that? I'll admit it. I've done that before, where I've had a story and then I tell someone else and someone else and someone else. And by the time it gets 3, 4, 5 down the road, they've now been the reason why cancer exists in the world. And I'm just an innocent bystander. How in the world? And then when you look at it objectively, you go, oh, yeah, I contributed to that as well. Like, we all have done that. But if you catch yourself and not keep repeating these stories and then adding to the stories, adding to the lore of the stories, Lore of the stories, it helps to break that cycle. Eventually, without even noticing, you can be blaming them for things that aren't even related to them, such as why there's cancer in the world. People like to embellish, and that embellishment grows in a story. And the more you tell a story, the more these embellishments get bigger and bigger, because it's almost as if you have to tell yourself these worse and worse things about them in order to personify what your mind is telling you about them. Even though that mind is telling you wrong, you have to keep telling a bigger and bigger story in a way for you to be able to wrap your head around why they're so bad and why you're so good. Ooh, am I stepping on toes today? Are you feeling me on this one? So stop relating to the story. Go cold turkey even for a day and notice how your energy levels change, how your mental reasoning around the situation changes. When you blame other people, it creates a fog. And then when it lifts, we see a whole nother perspective. So maybe you or someone you love is caught in the blame game. Take a step back. Stop talking about it. Think it through. See where in that story maybe you have a little bit of onus in it. Not blaming yourself, but you are admitting that mistakes were made. I love that book titled, Mistakes Were Made, but Not by Me. And people do that. They don't want to take responsibility. So if you're going to tell a story, tell a therapist. They are wonderful. I have a life coach in my life, and I'm talking to her on Monday. And she's a licensed therapist, and she's been wonderful for me. And I've had a lot of things happening in my life over the past year and a half. And she's been there with me all the way. And I adore what she does for me. It helps keep me mentally stable. And she makes me own up to things that I need to own up to. While still having empathy for me of, oh my gosh, you've been through some stuff in your life. And so don't dismiss what that stuff has done, but also own up to your responsibility in the things that you're responsible for. So it's been very helpful. A professional coach, counselor, or psychotherapist can not only help you see where you're not taking responsibility, they can also help you repair relationships and learn new ways of behaving that see you stepping into instead of stepping away from your personal accountability and power. And guys, at the end of the day, that's what it's about. It's not just about, oh, it's bad to blame other people when you have onus. No, it's about your own personal development. Don't you want to be the best possible human being you can be? Of course. I think we all would say that. And so if you own up to your part of blame for things in your life, that empowers you. You get more powerful. We think we get more powerful by claiming we never do wrong, but when you never do wrong, you're actually weakening yourself. So humility, vulnerability, personal responsibility, all of these things add up into a wonderful and beautiful human being at the end of the day. And isn't that what we want to be? Isn't that what you want as a friend? Aren't those the kind of people that you hope to God you find as friends? The person I talked to today was like, oh my God, like, where did you come from? Because I was sitting there listening to their story and giving input and being blunt and then kind of challenging them on things that they were thinking about. And they were like, you're rare. I don't find people like you. Most people just kind of tell me what I want to hear, or they tell me I'm crazy. I'm like, well, I'm not most people. And you need to find those diamonds in the rough. And you can be one of those as well. All right, I have another story on the same topic. I'm going to quickly peruse through it to see if there's anything different. They do have 5 reasons that we play the blame game, why we play it, and why we rarely win the game. They say blame is an excellent defensive mechanism. Whether you call it projection, denial, or displacement, blame helps you preserve your sense of self-esteem by avoiding awareness of your own flaws. And again, people see flaws as errors in their character, and they see that as a bad thing. Can I tell you, people connect with the flaws. People who become influencers, for example, they all think they have to show perfection when they share with their followers. I have never had that mentality because I am far from perfect in any way. I show the good, the bad, and the ugly. That's just kind of my jam. And people don't like that, then I'm not their people. And they move on to the next influencer that will tell them how perfect their life is. I choose to be honest with my followers. I choose to be someone who just says it is like it is. You're not always going to agree with me, and that's okay. You don't have to agree with me, but you do appreciate that I'm being open about that. And so I'll share those things all the time. And I always tell you, I'm not perfect by any means. I have my flaws. And in doing that, I actually connect more with you guys, and I'm more human to you. And thus, I kind of stay away from the blame game, right? Blame is also a tool we use when we go into attack mode. Ooh, falling into the category of a destructive conflict resolution method, blame is a means by which you hurt your partner. You use blame as a weapon, weaponizing your words and your actions to hurt other people that you never in a million years want to hurt, and yet you do. That's big. We're not very good at figuring out the causes of other people's behavior or even our own. All the attributions we make, whether to luck or ability, can be distorted by our tendency to make some illogical judgments in life. And we're just as bad at making judgments involving the blameworthiness of actions in terms of the intent versus the outcome. We play the blame game for these reasons, guys. It's also easier to blame someone else than to accept personal responsibility, which we've been talking about. And then the last one, reason why we blame, people lie. People lie. Everybody lies, according to Robert Feldman. It's pretty easy to just lie and blame someone else, even though you know you're the one that's at fault. You may figure that no one will know it was really you who spilled the coffee all over the break room, so you just blame someone else who's not even there and hope that person will never find out. Have you ever done that, by the way? Ever blamed somebody? You did something, but then you blame someone else? I can't imagine the guilt that hits someone unless you are heartless. The guilt would overcome me. That's not my character to blame someone else for something that I know I did. I would just feel so guilty it would eat me alive. But we do that. We play this blame game. We accuse other people for all the bad things in our own life, when at the end of the day, if we just go 1, 2, 3 while we're pointing one finger, and we do 3 times as much work on ourselves, when we point, we're pointing 3 back at ourselves. If we just did triple the work on ourselves that we do pushing blame on other people, we would all be better human beings. All right, let's see what you guys have to say. We're going to come here first to Instagram, then over to Facebook, finally over to YouTube. Thank you all for being here today on Jimmy Rants. And just a reminder, we are doing the Farewell Freebies contest where I'm giving away free copies of my books. And today, live on Jimmy Rants, each of the platforms, Instagram, Facebook, and YouTube, I'm going to have one winner on each. The way you are eligible is leave me a comment, which I see I've gotten a ton of comments on all 3 platforms. So go ahead and leave me a comment, and at the end of the show, I will choose a winner on each of the 3 platforms. Good luck to you. JimmyRants.com is the website. Let's see what you guys have to say. Jack says, I hope you have the best time on your time off. I hope you get to decompress and come back healthier, stronger, and better than ever. I plan on it, Jax. I want to get away. I want to refresh mentally, physically. I'm going to ramp up some of my health efforts. Not that I've been slacking, but I really, really want to ramp up some of that stuff while I'm gone. So thank you for that. Joshua says the guy that had anger issues is also playing the victim. That was for me, or that was me for a lot of years. Yeah, I think it was all of us for a lot of years. So don't beat yourself up about that, but yeah. And for me, it was overcoming all the abuse I had from my father. I had some anger issues, and I always tended to, in my early to mid 20s, like blame him for all the bad things in my life. And then at some point I had to like make that mental shift of, Jimmy, hello, McFly, you're living your life now. Not him, you are. And I had to make that shift. Jack says a lot of people with mental illness sabotage themselves because mental illness is their identity. Ooh, yes. I know because I've been there. Not just mental illness. There's a lot of people who take a physical illness and that defines who they are. And I'm like, And I'll even talk about obesity in that way. There are people who lose weight, and when they lose weight and they change their body, they don't know who they are anymore because they identified as their obesity for so long that, yeah, it made it hard. Thank you for that. That's good insight. T.A. Bennett says, what I love about becoming a health and nutrition coach, I've been able to see people fall out of the victim mode that they've been in. Yes. They do like to blame or play the victim and blame other people, don't they? That is a common, and it's a defensive mechanism, and it's a coping mechanism. We just have to recognize that, and good for you as their health coach recognizing that for them. Jen says, I think we're being trained to look inward a bit too much, like self-care, and everybody has an issue of some sort. That is the reason why they can't advance in life. We might be being trained to look inward a bit too much, but I don't think enough people are doing the work, to be honest, Jen. So maybe that repetition of you need to work on yourself internally, maybe it's not getting through, even though it's being heard a lot. It's not getting through because not enough people are doing that work. Maybe it's incumbent upon the people that are saying do that work to explain it a little more and the purpose behind it and what the benefits will be on the backside. But thank you for your input. Snowy says, if you could kick the person in the pants responsible for most of your trouble, you wouldn't sit for a month, says Theodore Roosevelt. That's really good. I love that quote, Snowy. I'd never heard that before. Let's see here. It's been a slow cultivation. Read IY Generation by Tim Elmore. It really helps explain how we came to this. Oh, that's interesting. I hadn't heard that book before. I'm learning all kinds of things from you guys today. Thank you for that. Blame unloads backed up feelings, and it's so true. It does. It does. Lady Lixel, having someone in your life who plays the constant victim, blames you or other people in your life will drain you of your own self-worth and energy. That's true. Thank you for bringing that out. So when you're around someone who is constantly not taking responsibility themselves, constantly blaming others and probably blaming you, that becomes a contagion, like it said in the article, to which now you go, well, wait a minute, I feel crappy. I blame that guy for throwing all that stuff on me. It's not my fault. And I've got friends in my life that a parent in their life treated them a certain way, really bad. And so now they do the same thing. And I'll call them out. I'll be like, you know what you say your parents do? You're doing that now. And they're like, oh crap. Like, it's like you can't even notice that you're doing that until you're doing it. But you're right, it does drain people and it makes them fall susceptible to wanting to do the same thing. Kat says, people who choose to own their life, take action, set goals, achieve it, know that everything is on them. They also choose whom to let in or let out of their life. Others have to be or choose to be passive. If you're in my life, you're in my life purposely. and for a reason. I resonate with you. If you're not in my life, there's a reason as well. Just gonna leave that right there. Rachel says, I try to be really self-aware if I'm playing the victim role or not. It's easy to play the victim, but it doesn't get you anywhere. Well, what's the Aaron Neville song? Everybody plays the fool sometimes. And we do that. When you play a victim, you're basically playing a foolish game because you're not going to win. There's nothing good that comes out of being the victim. And yes, bad things happen. I want to acknowledge this. I put this in my post today. I said, I know some of you are going to rail at me. Oh my gosh, bad things. You don't understand my circumstance or the person that did this to me and that to me. And I'm like, you're right. Okay, those things suck. But at the end of the day, you're the one that's going to have to live your life. You're the one that chooses the direction of your life. You're the one that has to pick yourself up by the bootstraps and stop playing victim to the circumstances and people in your life. And when you do that, watch how you grow. Watch how you achieve happiness. Watch how you become successful. Those are all the little secret sauces of making that happen. Huge no to superficial relationships. It's all clutter. It literally sucks life out of you. There's a difference when you support your friends versus somebody bringing toxicity in your life. I can tell you, thank you, Kat. I can tell you when I start talking to someone on the phone, for example, and all it is woe is me, woe is me, woe is me, world's bad, world's bad, world's bad, woe is me, woe is me, woe is me, world's bad, world's bad, world's bad. I'm like, can I come up for a breath because I need a little bit of something that's not so grim? And that's not to say put on a fake smile or not share how you really feel, but put your brain into the mode of what's the good in that circumstance, because all you're sharing is the bad. And if you've got that much bad, what are you doing to deal with it? That's another thing I always kind of, when I'm hearing that from someone, because you're right, it could reach a level of toxicity if it's not bringing support for the friendship. Joshua says, forgiving yourself and others is step one to having an awesome life. Yes. Yes, yes, yes. Blame is the root of all addiction, says Skindigo Girl. Yeah, that's true. I'm thinking that through a little bit, thinking of like all the addictive things. Yeah. And the reason you go to those things that you're addicted to. Yeah, I mean, I love it. It's not taking personal responsibility. Thank you guys. You guys are giving me some really nice things about being gone. Can't wait to see you go away. No, that's not what you're saying. You're going to miss me, and I appreciate that. Diana says you can take some control and have hope if you take responsibility. Yes, exactly. You take control of the situation by taking some of the responsibility, and it does give you hope. It does. T.A. Bennett, negative peeps saying the world's bad all the time just drain me. Find the good in all. I think it's okay to share a little bit of the bad, but then always look at the bright side. You got to balance it. And I know people in my life that are always happy, always everything's good, nothing's ever wrong, and you know they're fake as hell. And then I got those people that, oh, everything is bad, oh, woe is me, oh, have pity on me, and those people drain me as well. Got to have that proper balance between those two. You're not always good, you're not always bad, you're right there in that balancedness of it all. All right, thank you, Instagram. I'm going to stick you guys over to the side just a little bit here. Appreciate you guys. And if you joined us late, we are going to be giving away a free book on each of the platforms today, so get ready. You're going to have your opportunity. I'm going to give away a book on Instagram, on Facebook, as well as on YouTube, so that's at the end of the show. But thank you for your comments, Instagram. Let me pop over here now to Facebook. What's up, Facebook? See what you guys have to say on this one. Our media fuels the fire, says Joanne. She's referring to where the confrontations in our culture about the things that have been happening this year. And you're right, they do fuel that. But the situation is such that it's right. It's put in that position because there's a group of people that are told they're oppressed and they're never going to get anywhere, and they blame their past for their present. And I'm thinking, if you give those people hope and you tell them, okay, what happened in the past sucked, but today's a new day. Today you have an opportunity and you can be something today if you apply yourself, put in the work, and da-da-da. They don't like when you say those things because they want to keep being the victim. And again, like you said, the media is feeding into that victimhood. You always need to be accountable for your own actions and reactions. Yes. You got the central theme of what I said here today. Mandy says, I'm more likely to be drawn to someone who wears their heart on their sleeve, just as I do. Real people, real life. And Mandy, that's why we connect so well, because you're that way, I'm that way, and it's why we're good friends. Joanne says, I was married to a narcissist many years ago. That's tough. And you're not alone. A lot of people, sadly. Own up to your own mistakes. Absolutely. Your ability to model vulnerability is a great service to humanity. Thank you, Candace. And it is a skill that you have to work on. And when you're vulnerable, like people think vulnerability is weakness. Vulnerability is probably the strongest thing you could possibly do. Because when you're vulnerable, you're like, I don't care what people think of me. I don't care if my reputation suffers of what people have as the image of who I am. If I'm vulnerable, I'm as real gets. And I'm as human gets. And I think sometimes we want to see humanity in other people to let us know that it's okay to be human ourselves. And it's okay to admit things that are our fault. It's okay to be wrong. Those are not bad things. Culturally speaking, they're all bad things. But when you stop and think about it, they're all things that are normal that we all deal with. And we all just need to be demonstrating it on a daily basis. Candace says, people need to get comfortable with being uncomfortable. Yes. Looking in the mirror is hard, but change comes with recognition of the mistakes and the respect of oneself to do the work, not to repeat them. Yes, I love that, Candace. Great quote. Great quote. Man, so many comments came in today. Thank you. Berkeley says, be careful of who you share with. It can come back to haunt you. Yeah, when I was doing the gaslighting, Jimmy Rants, several weeks back, I did that one. Go look it up. But when you know you have a gaslighter, when you know you have a narcissist, don't give them as ammunition. Don't share any part of yourself. So yes, vulnerability in the right situation. I agree with you. Mandy says, I have a parent that is a narcissist and I intentionally watch my emotions and words. This is also likely why I say I'm sorry so much, because I'm even unconsciously over-concerned about how my character comes across. I always wear my heart on my sleeve. Mandy, I was the same way around my dad. Before I cut him out of my life, I always felt like I had to dance around him because he's a narcissist as well. I think we all have those people in our life, and it's really sad when it's apparent. All right, thank you, Facebook. Now let me come over here now to my YouTube channel. What's up, YouTube? Seen a bunch of comments over here, so let's see what you have to say. You will be missed, but I'm going to use this as an opportunity to listen to your older podcast. Thank you. Yes, that's right. Being responsible for yourself and own up to what you can and will do. Thank you, Rach and Vocals. Harpsy says there's so much cruel behavior by individuals with mental illnesses, diet that's inappropriate for brain health. Well, that's true. And I think diet could play a great healing part in this process of blaming other people. And when you start feeling better, that makes you feel better about yourself. and maybe makes you more willing to talk and be vulnerable. So thank you for that connection there to nutrition. Shirley says, I've been working really hard with my kids on playing the blame game. It's their favorite game. Apparently, I refuse to let them go and make it a habit. Good for you. You're a good mama, Shirley. Christy says, I think sharing vulnerability is the root of how we develop strong bonds. Yes. Yes. Have you ever heard of the book, Becoming the Narcissist Nightmare? If you have experience with narcissists, it's an amazing book. It really helped me. I have not heard of that book. I will look it up. Becoming the Narcissist Nightmare. What a great title. As an author, I admire that title because it's got me really intrigued to read it. That's good. I have a few people in my life that do this, and they're very hard to be around, talking about people that blame others. Thank you, Shirley. Mike says, thanks for this topic. I'm in leadership training this week, and we're talking so much about this very thing, accountability. Take the blame and give the praise to build amazing relationships. It really is the key. This is the secret sauce. You want to be a good human, do this. Own up. Don't blame. Josie says, I think when a person can stand up and say they're wrong, it makes them stronger and better. We need a whole lot more of this in our politicians and the way all this stuff was handled. Yes. One of the best things I learned from my mother-in-law, now that you got that out, what was your role in the situation? Ooh, that's convicting. I love it though. And what can you do different the next time it comes around? Julie says, I'm happy to say the schools I work in do start these conversations from a young grade. Well, that's good. That gives me a lot of hope. Craig says, taking ownership can be freeing, but not as freeing as forgiving yourself. Just saying it out loud helps me. Love you. Thank you, Craig. I love you too, man. Lauren says, as sad as I am in my current situation, I'm always thankful for the bad because I always will grow and learn. That growth in the times of hurt sometimes is the most meaningful growth of your life. So embrace it, Lauren, and you will get through. Shirley says, I have one person in my life who's always happy and one that is seemingly always mad about everything. Ironically, they happen to be mother and son. Ouch. Ooh. Because the mom's always mad and unhappy, and the son is always happy and cheerful. They gonna butt heads eventually. Craig says, why is blame so many folks' first instinct when it comes to receiving a COVID diagnosis? Not everything is automatically someone's fault. Well, it's convenient to do that. That's why. I just find it funny. I remember early on with the virus, a very prominent natural health person, Jolene Brighton. She's in the functional medicine world, and she got COVID and got really bad sick to the point of having to be on oxygen. She never had to go to the doctor and ventilator. She is a doctor, so she had medical help, but she was on oxygen there for a couple months, and her O2 saturation levels, it took a while to come back up. And people were blaming her like crazy. Oh my God, you're supposed to be this natural health person. How dare you get sick from COVID-19? And so the blame game definitely came out in full force with her, and I hated that for her because I didn't think that was fair. She didn't do anything, and she's very healthy, so nope. All right, let's see if there was any final comments over here before we get out of here. Amen for having balance. Yes, always balance. Dana says, I'll miss you and your content, but so happy you're going to get away. Thank you, Dana. I'm going to miss you guys immensely because I do love, let me say this. I love the craft of what I get to do. And I love the day-to-day-ism of the interaction with people because I'm a people guy. And I love coming up with new content. People are like, how in the world do you come up with new topics every single day on your lives? You interview people and you write books and you do this. And I'm like, that's just the way I'm wired. But I learned during my sabbatical last year, I have to get away. And if I don't get away, I can't be at my best. And I like to be at my very best when I come on here. and do all the things that I do. Joshua says, I think the blame game is the blight of a modern, comfortable society. And it's important to talk about. Yeah, it is. And it's a product of our modern generation. We don't want to take responsibility because here's the thing. Culture tells us nothing is your fault. Think about that for a moment. Our culture teaches us that all the bad things in your life is because of something some other person, some circumstance, some group has done to you. Think that through and you'll see how true it is. All right, guys, it's time for the giveaway. Who wants to win? Who wants to win? I've got all of my books are up for grabs. This is part of my farewell freebies contest because I'm going away. Tomorrow is my last Jimmy Rants of 2020. So tomorrow, definitely come back for the Ask Me Anything tomorrow at 11 a.m. Eastern Time. We're going to have a huge, huge party as I head out the door. But today, and I've been doing this all week long, giving away all 7 copies of my book. You get to choose which one you want. So I'm going to be giving away copies of each of my books. So each platform today, I'm going to choose a winner. So let me start over here on YouTube. YouTube, you're the only funky one because I need you to write me through Instagram. So if you win, and I'm randomly scrolling through and I'm going to stop on somebody, it looks like it's Mike Shanty. So Mike, you are my winner. I'll go ahead and take a screenshot in case I forget that you're my winner. Mike is my winner over on YouTube. So just write me over on Instagram, go into the DMs and write me that you're the winner. I need your full name, your address, and which book you want. So congratulations, Mike. Now let's come over here to Facebook and let's see who wins over here. Going to the top, and I'm just going to scroll back and forth until I land on a name. And it looks like Candace Lubbock. That's you, my dear. You are the winner. We're going to take a screenshot of you so that I can make sure I get it to the right person. Save the photo. Okay, I know I froze there a second. I was saving the photo over there. Congratulations, Mike. He says, Yahoo! So Candace, you are my winner over here on Facebook. Congratulations. Go ahead and send me a DM here on Facebook. I should be able to get it if you send it to my Jimmy Moore page, which you're on right now. So congratulations. And now, last but not least, let's come over here to my Instagram page. And let's see if we can pick a winner here. So I'm going to close my eyes, going to scroll through and go back and forth until I stop. And I'm typing. Wow, I really messed that up. Looks like T.A. Bennett is the winner over here. T.A. Bennett won. So you are my winner on Instagram. And congratulations to the 3 winners across here today live on Jimmy Rants. And if you're watching this on the replay, you're not going to miss out on the fun either. So if you're watching this on IGTV on replay, if you're watching it on YouTube on replay, I'm also going to give you a chance. You got to put a little comment down below. Let me see your comment. And if I need at least about 5 or 6 names. I don't want to have one person comment, oh, you're the winner. So let it be a lot of people. And then I'll choose randomly somebody to win. So congratulations, everyone. And that's it for this episode of Jimmy Rants. JimmyRants.com is the website. And as always, you can engage live in the content. You got to go follow me. I'm over on Instagram. I'm at Living Low Carb Man, LivinLowCarbMan. Once you're there, engage live. We are here Monday through Friday, 11 a.m. Eastern Time. Thank you so much for being here. We also simulcast live on Facebook and YouTube. If you missed the live, you can watch it on replay right here on Instagram, IGTV. We also put the past episodes up over on YouTube. And today, you type in a keyword, Jimmy Rants, you'll find the show. Today, we do have a bonus episode over on my YouTube channel. Go subscribe over there, by the way. The bonus episode is today's episode of Real Talk, the podcast that I do on Thursdays. And I've got a stand-up comedian. So it's my last episode of the year. I wanted to go out with a bang, and I got this hilarious guy named Dave Martin. And Dave and I connected because he was talking about a lot of the things about COVID-19 and some of the other kind of cultural things out there in the world using his humor. And I'm a big fan of stand-up comedy. And so we had a really great conversation. You can watch that entire episode over on YouTube, or if you'd prefer to listen to it, it is on the Real Talk podcast today. LLVLC.com is where you can go listen, or wherever you listen to podcasts. And then finally, pop on over to the official website, JimmyRants.com. While you're there, you can see all the past episodes there. And it's also where you can support my work. If you like what I do here, I've got a PayPal and a Patreon link, and a donation of any amount would be greatly, greatly appreciated. Okay, you guys, come back. I promise you, you will not be disappointed if you come back tomorrow. Come back. Come back. Come back. Come back to where you once belong. Or get back. See, I'm not a Beatles fan, but I just randomly sing, and I'm going to take ownership. I'm going to take blame of that. I messed up there, and so I take all the blame. It's not your fault. It's totally my fault. It's my fault. I messed up. Said the wrong word. But be here tomorrow, 11 a.m., and we will see you then. Bye.